إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us in the Quran where He says, O you who have believed, have the taqwa of Allah as is rightfully due to Allah and do not die except as Muslims. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know He has created us for a very honorable task, and that is to worship Him alone and to not associate any partners with Him in this worship, where He says in Surah Al-Dhariyat, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُم مِّن رِزْقٍ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَن يُطْعِمُونَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. He says, indeed, I have not created mankind or the jinn except to worship me. And I do not require any sustenance from them. I do not require any providing from them. In fact, it is Allah Azza wa Jal who is the provider. This verse is a beautiful verse because many times we in our lives lean one way or the other. Meaning we are either leaning one way towards the dunya too much to where we neglect our hereafter, or we lean towards the hereafter too much where we ignore our life, this life that we live in, the current dunya. And a Muslim's job is to achieve balance, al-wasatiyya wal-i'tidal, between these two goals, because there are two forces that push us either way. And of course, many of our khutbahs here have been perhaps focused on one versus the other, and this is because this dunya is glamorous and it's enticing and it calls us on a regular basis. And so many times people might think that from what we say, that Islam teaches us to completely ignore or shun away the idea of making money, the idea of becoming successful, the idea of having a career, the idea of providing for one's family. And this is incorrect, of course. Islam teaches us rather to have a balance. Yet when, unfortunately, for 6.5 days out of the week, we are balancing and focusing on one element and forgetting the other a lot of times, this is perhaps the only reminder that many people get in order to focus on the hereafter and to perhaps not focus as much on the dunya. However, Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala, he gives us a beautiful piece of advice. And it is perhaps an equation or a formula for us to apply in order for us to achieve this success. To where he says, I have never seen a person who, when he focuses on the dunya so much, that he ever achieved through that success in the hereafter. If that was his goal. Meaning if his goal was to become rich and famous and to live a glamorous lifestyle, that person will never achieve success in the hereafter. However, he says, plenty are the people that when they focused on the hereafter, Allah Azza wa Jal gave them success in this life as well. Do you see what he says here? He says that if you want success in both, you only have to focus on one. But which one are you going to choose? If you want to succeed in the hereafter, which inshallah ta'ala we make dua on a constant basis, that Allah grants us Jannah and success in the hereafter. If we want that success and that winning there, then of course we have to focus on that. But there are ways to actually achieve through that success in this life as well, that success that we crave. Many of us are immigrants, and we have immigrated from countries that economically aren't doing so well. And we have come to the United States of America to actually make a good living. This is the reality, this is the truth. Our primary intention in coming to the United States was financial, was for money. And perhaps this is okay, as long as this isn't the end goal. I don't use that money and make that money, and then I have gathered all of that wealth and that money for me to die in my grave and not take a penny with me. I have tired all my life to not take a single penny with me to the grave, and rather it will be for the people that will inherit me, my children, and my children might blow it on things that are not even pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. Meaning it's a an excuse against me for when I spent all of my time, sweat and tears and lack of sleep over it. Plus, because I cannot guarantee what my inheritors will actually use that wealth in, it might even be another excuse against me, that I have enabled these people to use it in other than what Allah Azza wa Jal pleases Him. So of course we have to be very careful in what we do. We have to be very careful in our intentions. And this is why it is so important to understand primarily what our goal is. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we will show how Allah Azza wa Jal does not frown upon making money. He does not frown upon making a living. In fact, He says in many verses in the Quran where He's encouraging us to do this, as long as it is halal source of income. It is something that Allah Azza wa Jal has allowed. It is something that Allah Azza wa Jal has pleased upon. Where He says, فَامْشُوا فِي مَنَاكِبِهَا وَكُلُوا مِنْ رِزْقِهِ وَإِلَيْهِ النُّشُورُ. Walk amongst this earth and eat from that which He has provided you, and know that to Allah is your return. Meaning, fear Allah during all of these phases, you'll be fine. He does not frown upon a person enjoying his food, enjoying his life. This is not a bad thing, as long as it is in what Allah Azza wa Jal, what pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. In fact, He says when a person comes to Salatul Jum'ah today, where He encourages us and makes it mandatory in Surah Al-Jum'ah for a person to come, right after that He says, فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. He says, spread around. Once the salah is over, spread around in this earth and seek the bounty of Allah. Meaning, make a living, work. This is not bad. And then He says, وَاذْكُرُ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. And remember Allah much remembrance. That while you're doing this, always be mindful of Allah, that He's the one who's providing for you. Be thankful for that which Allah Azza wa Jal has provided you with. When you're remembering Allah, remember that every penny you spend, you're going to be asked about on the Day of Judgment. Every penny you earn, you're going to be asked about on the Day of Judgment. Remember this, and you'll be fine. So He's encouraging us to do this. And therefore, and when I say in this formula, that when you focus on the hereafter, the dunya will come with it. There are 11 pieces of things that we can do to actually increase our share in what Allah Azza wa Jal has provided us with. Because the reality is, as a community, we cannot actually advance unless we take certain precautions. And amongst that is that we are financially strong as well. Financial strength is not a bad thing, but financial strength is a bad thing if that is the end goal. And that, of course, should never be the end goal for a Muslim. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in a beautiful verse in Surah Al-A'raf, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ. In a beautiful lesson. And this is lesson number 1. He says, if the people of these villages would have believed, number 1, and have the taqwa of Allah, we would have opened amongst them doors from the heaven, that which the barakat would descend. These blessings from Allah and favors from Allah. He's telling us very clearly that belief in Allah Azza wa Jal is a means through which a person can seek Allah's providence and His providing for that individual. When Allah Azza wa Jal provides for us and sustains us, if a person feels that perhaps his finances are tight, things aren't going the way that he does, step number 1 is to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. To believe that He is the provider, and wallah, He will provide for you. Just like when you believe that Allah is the one who forgives your sins, He will forgive you. When you believe, truly believe that only Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who can provide for you, He actually will be the one who provides for you. And this is why Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. And in the heavens is your sustenance. Everything that you are waiting for. That money, that wealth, that job. The bonus, the advancement, whatever it is in the heavens. It's waiting for you. Then Allah Azza wa Jal, He swears, subhanAllah, in such a tremendous way. He says, فَوَرَبِّ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. He swears by the Lord of the heavens and the earth. There's no, by the way, swearing by Allah Azza wa Jal, He takes an oath similar to this manner, except in this verse, where He wants to establish this so firmly that He swears by the Lord of the heavens and the earth. إِنَّهُ لَحَقٍّ. Indeed, it is the truth, just like you speak amongst one another. An A'rabi, he heard this verse, a Bedouin man, It is said that he heard this verse and he says, who is the one who doubted this, that Allah Azza wa Jal got angry to swear in such a manner? When he read this, he felt that anger from Allah Azza wa Jal, that how dare anybody doubt the fact that Allah is the one who provides for you. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who can make things easy for you. He is the one who can open up those doors that are closed. He is the one who can provide you from ways that you never anticipated. And He wants us to understand this fully and wholeheartedly. And this is why He says, if those villages, the ones that Allah Azza wa Jal had either destroyed or had withheld from them some of the things that He had told them that they would get, He only withheld them because they did not properly believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. So step number one, we have to firmly believe in the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal alone is the provider. He is Ar-Razzaq. He is the one who gives you without anything in return. This is number one. Number two, he says, in a verse in the Quran, in Surah Taha, at the very end, he says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا لَا نَسْأَلُكَ رِزْقًا نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكَ. He says, and command your family to believe, to establish their prayer. And we have mentioned this in an entire khutbah by itself. That when you command your family to pray, obviously you should be praying as well. But when you command them to pray, meaning their 5 daily prayers, and to safeguard these, and to hold on to them, and to never miss a single prayer, Allah Azza wa Jal says, we do not ask you of anything, meaning of providing. In fact, we will be the ones who provide for you. If a person safeguards his salah, his prayers, the 5 times a day, he is not delaying them, he is not missing any, he is focused during them, he's establishing them the way that Allah Azza wa Jal wants, the way that the Prophet ﷺ established in his sunnah, then this is a guarantee that Allah Azza wa Jal will provide for this individual. If a person feels finances are tight, things aren't going that well, he opens up his bank account and he sees it's very low, one of the guaranteed ways, and this is in the Quran, I'm not making this up by myself, it's in the Quran that if the person is truly praying, this perhaps should not happen. And therefore a person can review his salah easily. And of course when a person is actually praying correctly, with proper khushu', with proper iman, his iman will increase and he'll establish step number one as well. That's step number two. Step number three is of course to have the taqwa of Allah. And we have translated this to be the consciousness, the fear of Allah. And to speak about the taqwa of Allah, we perhaps need entire sermons, entire khutab, just merely dedicated to the idea of the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jalla. In fact, it is said that in one of the masajid, the khatib that was there in that local community, he never gave a khutbah except that it was about the taqwa of Allah. Taqwa. And so the people came after the salah and said, Ya Shaykh, you keep on talking about the same topic. Yeah, we need another topic. He said, if we just properly establish taqwa, we don't need any other topic. Taqwa is such a huge concept that in fact almost every single other element of Islam can be included inside of it. And then it says, if we truly understand taqwa and we apply it, I will change it. Once we apply taqwa, we can change the subject to something else. This is how important taqwa is. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And whoever has the taqwa of Allah, He will give him an out from his problem. He will give him a solution to whatever calamity has befallen him. If the person fears Allah Azza wa Jalla. Whatever problem you have, whether it's financial, whether it is marital, marriage problems happen. They happen to the best of Allah's creation, who is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And yet Allah Azza wa Jalla every single time gave him a solution to the problem. Because interestingly enough, this verse that we're talking about, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا, is in Surah At-Talaq. It's in the surah that talks about divorce. So obviously Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us that even when the problem is in your marriage or a personal issue, know that the solution is not in what you think. The solution is in Allah's hands. If we understand this, wallah, the solution will be very easy after this. And then He says, وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ, and He will provide for him from ways that he never anticipated. So many people are the ones who said, I never anticipated the solution would come from this angle, but it did. I never anticipated that Allah Azza wa Jalla would provide me from this way, but He did. The people who establish taqwa will find amazing things in their life. Wallahi, every single person, many people come and talk to us and they say, Ya Shaykh, we did this and this happened and subhanAllah, it was amazing. There is story after story after story, but inshallah ta'ala we don't have time to get into many of these examples. Number 4, and we have mentioned this in our previous khutbah last time, 2 weeks ago, about istighfar, about asking Allah for forgiveness. That when a person humbles himself in front of Allah and knows that only Allah can answer his call for forgiveness, that when he has regret about some shortcoming, about some mistake, about some moment of weakness, and he understands fully that only Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who forgives his sins, Allah Azza wa Jal indeed forgives him his sins. And not only forgives him his sins, but increases him in ways that he never anticipated as well. He says, يُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا. He starts to send upon you rain. And then, وَيُمْدِدْكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ. He gives you wealth, He gives you money. وَبَنِينَ. And He gives you sons and daughters and children. وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ أَنْهَارًا. He gives you gardens, He gives you rivers in the hereafter. These are some of the blessings of istighfar. I met a young man and he said, yeah, I got laid off from work. I didn't know what to do. He said, but I remember listening to a lecture in which the Shaykh said, if a person wants to find work or needs some sort of sustenance, all he has to do is make istighfar. And he says, my finances were such that I barely had enough food and money for food. He says, I sat in the masjid making istighfar, and a guy sees me and he says, what are you doing? He says, I'm just here. He says, we're about to have dinner. You want to come to have dinner with us? He says, I found dinner. Just by sitting, I make istighfar for 5 minutes, dinner came. So he says, this is interesting. I make istighfar that night. In the morning, I had breakfast. He said, for an entire week, I ate, and I did not spend a penny out of my own money, just making istighfar. And then by the end of the week, he says, I started making it so much so that he ended up finding a job, and then he got a better job, and now, alhamdulillah, he runs his own business, this individual. And he says, it started in this epiphany that I had, that if I actually make istighfar, not only with my tongue, but I'm actually reflecting on everything that I'm doing, Allah Azza wa Jal loves this so much that He will actually push that sustenance towards you. Many times, if you ask anybody who's successful, many times it is from ways that they never anticipated. They did a survey, Forbes magazine, that of course is a magazine about wealth and finances. They did a survey of the millionaires that they interviewed, people who had 25 million and up in their finances. And they asked them, how did you make your wealth? 30% said it was their knowledge and talent. 30% said that it was through who they knew. Meaning either their family was already wealthy or they met a wealthy person and so forth. 40% said it was pure luck. Meaning it was a way that they never anticipated. Now this is according to their own answers. When in reality they said that luck was perhaps influencing who they knew, because who you know isn't necessarily that I knew this person, I went to meet him. No, this is also luck. Which means that 70% was actually through mere luck. Now of course in Islam, our definition of luck is that Allah Azza wa Jal was the one who provided it for you. This is why there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he says, لو أن ابن آدم هرب من رزقه كما يهرب من الموت لطلبه رزقه كما يطلبه الموت لأدركه رزقه كما يدركه الموت. He says that if the person runs away from what Allah Azza wa Jalla has written for him, from providing, from sustenance, from wealth, if he runs away from it, just like he runs away from death, it will catch up to him, just like death will eventually catch up to him, because it's his destiny. It's what Allah Azza wa Jalla has already prescribed for him. You can't run away from that which Allah has provided you. If Allah Azza wa Jalla has provided for you that today you will eat such and such, and you will breathe such and such, and you will drink such and such, it will happen, guaranteed, no matter what. In fact, many times we go out in our lives looking for the address. Where is it, my sustenance? And in fact, your sustenance, it's the opposite. Your sustenance knows your address, you don't know its. And this is why the person should always be content. And if he has this belief in Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal will provide for him, like we said, from ways that he had never anticipated. Number 5 is at-tawakkul ala Allah, relying upon Allah Azza wa Jal. This reliance upon Allah, where He says, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever relies upon Allah, Allah will suffice him. That will be sufficient for him. That will be enough for him. And of course, the famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, لو أنكم تتوكلون على الله حق توكله لرزقكم كما يرزق الطير تغدو خماصا وتروح بطانا. Where he says that indeed if you have the reliance upon Allah truly, as is rightfully due to Allah, He will provide you just like He provides for the birds. Beautiful hadith. And we have mentioned it many times before. That they go out in the morning hungry, but they come back in the evening, their bellies are full. This shows you that the bird never sleeps at night worrying about where is the worm going to come in the morning. It's never worried about its sustenance because it relies upon Allah. The reliance upon Allah is that the person should never worry about this life. Many times we get people that are worried and they're concerned and they have stress, where in fact the stress that a Muslim faces, ideally of course, none of us are perfect and we understand this. It's human reality to stress and to worry about where the next paycheck is going to come from, how I'm going to be able to pay these bills, how I'm going to be able to put a roof over my head and pay the power, the heat, etc. These are natural worries. Or if a person, Allah Azza wa Jalla has provided for him, he starts worrying about his businesses and its success and its failure and all of these things. This is understandable. However, he's saying that true reliance upon Allah is that you never worry about these things. And this is the ideal that we aspire for every day of our lives. That what we truly should worry about is my account with Allah, not my account that's in the bank. Is Allah pleased with me? Yes, then alhamdulillah, I can go to sleep happily and content. If Allah is not pleased with me, I have committed a sin, I need to go and repent and ask Him for forgiveness before I even go to bed that night. Every night, never go to bed while Allah Azza wa Jalla is angry at you. Make sure that all of your accounts with Allah Azza wa Jalla are settled. Make sure that He is pleased with you, that you have prayed to Him, you have fulfilled your obligations during that day. Review your day and go to sleep with a conscience that is clear, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will take care of all of your other issues. Wallahi, you'll go to sleep in a very beautiful manner. You won't have issues sleeping, you won't have issues with stress, you won't have issues with any of these things. This is the true reliance upon Allah Azza wa Jalla. That you understand that Allah tells you, go and make a living, but put your trust in me. Worry only about me, don't worry about the success. We'll guarantee your success if you make me your number one focus. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to always make us amongst those who make Him first and foremost in our lives, and that our focus is on Him and not on anything else. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الخلق وأشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. The next ones, and inshallah ta'ala we'll hope to go over them very quickly, but each one of these perhaps deserves its own khutbah. Number 6 is Silatul Rahim, maintaining the ties of kinship. Meaning when you have relationships with your family, Allah Azza wa Jal has guaranteed that He will provide for you even more. Where He says, the Prophet ﷺ actually says in this correct hadith, مَنْ سَرَّهُ أَنْ يُبْسَطَ لَهُ فِي رِزْقِهِ وَأَنْ يُنْسَأَ لَهُ فِي أَثَرِهِ فَلْيَصِلْ رَحِمَهُ. He says, whoever wants that Allah Azza wa Jal eases for him his finances. You want to become wealthy? He says, maintain relationships with your family. And almost always guaranteed is the opposite. That when a person does not have a good relationship with his mother or his father or his brothers or his sisters or his children or anything amongst these lines where he is the one who has cut himself off, Allah Azza wa Jalla will also cut off that line that He was providing you with. And that when you maintain those relationships, Allah Azza wa Jalla here is telling you that we will provide for you as well. And I know people who once they heard this, they had not so good of a relationship with their own mothers. And he said, as soon as I start calling my mother on a regular basis, asking about her, talking to her, making sure that everything was well established, Allah Azza wa Jal reopened those doors that were previously closed. And I found an ease in my finances, and I no longer worried about them. And so this is one of the ways that we can try to increase this as well. Number 7, he says, al-infaq, which is giving charity. And this might seem a little counterintuitive, because a person says, when I give in charity, how is this going to increase my wealth? Because it's actually decreasing. When I'm asked to give $100 or $500, that's my finances now are 100 less or 500 less. It doesn't make sense that my finances should increase when I give. But rather Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَمَا أَنفَقْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُهُ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ. That whatever you give, he says min shay. He doesn't say min mal. He says from anything, whether it's your time or wealth or physical ability or knowledge, whatever it is that you're giving in charity, Allah Azza wa Jal will replace it. Not only will He replace it, but He'll replace it and multiply it as well. And there are many people who said that once we started giving charity, our finances actually got better. Just by giving that charity. It's counterintuitive, but that's why it's a test. Because initially it perhaps does not make sense. But if you believe that Allah Azza wa Jalla is the provider, and you have fulfilled His requirement, of course it makes sense. Why wouldn't it make sense when He is the one who is asking, and He is the one who is guaranteeing, and you believe in His promise? Of course it will happen. And the people who give, they know that this is the truth. And they know that Allah Azza wa Jalla has always replenished their wealth. Because if you look in the community, the people who give in the community, who donate their wealth for the sake of Allah, they are always the same ones who donate for the sake of Allah. And this is proof that Allah keeps on providing them. Because if their wealth were diminished, we would have a new people that would be the ones who are giving. But in fact, this is not the case. This is practical proof that Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who provides. Because of the sake of time, inshallah ta'ala, we will stop here, but we will mention some of these, inshallah ta'ala, in a future date, perhaps in our Sunday program early in the morning. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide us and to forgive us and to make us amongst those who focus on the hereafter and the ones who gain the blessings of the hereafter, but the ones who also do not miss upon their share in this life as well. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين أعداءك أعداء الدين ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة إلا قضيتها وسرتها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات المؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات يا قاضي الحاجات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات يا رب العالمين اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة